that wave. Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield and I'm a professional dance choreographer and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States, and we are taking a look at (G)I-DLE's HANN, or Alone. Very pumped for this. I have a feeling I have heard this song before because it is on the Pump It Up step charts, and so I am looking forward to this in this way. I hadn't paid attention to the choreo before because I was too busy looking at the arrows, so I'm intrigued. I can't wait to see what we have in store. Let's go ahead and check it out. I didn't know this was their track.
Do you remember what you said? 너는 내게 뭐든 줄 것처럼 말을 건넸다. Remember what you said? 너는 아침 무슨 약을 먹은 마냥 변했다. 들어보지 마, 헤어지는 너 진짜의 stroke. 왜 나대고 내 어제만 봐. Lonely life. 좋아, 숨겨버린 말, 시가 버리들. I want you to be real. 그 잡잖아 그, 난 어제 봐. Lonely life.
I really like how their songs build. The production's great. Nice. Look at that wave. Nice.
Do you remember what you said? 나는 어떤 말도 못해본 채 너를 보냈다. Remember what you said? 나는 마치 무슨 약을 먹은 마냥 변했다. 변했다. 그 사람처럼 보냈다. 그 사자처럼 너는 날 너무 원했다. 손짓과 보낸 말 걱지만이었다면 넌 세상 제일 못했다.
I love the stoicness of that position they end up going in. It's really fun. I didn't even realize they said HANN there in that specific part. Nice. Nice. Yeah. So I mean, I really like it. It matches very well with the track itself. There's a lot of these tension choices that, like all of those runs, allowing movement to complement that is always a plus for me. But yeah, we have a music video, and let's go ahead and take a watch right here. Here we go. Low-key gives hermit crab energy. We'll take scorpion too. Girl, dangerous. And the heels too. Ooh. Yeah. How she sounds as you do that, it makes you want to bounce. Really nice. Such a look, I love it. With the hat. That part looks really cool. That's a cool shot. Ooh, that got a little trippy. Fun. It's honestly, it's a great song that you just want to sing to, you know, just like hum to. It's a hummable song. Or whistle to. Yeah, they get a little ending fairies in their music video. That's fun. Very fun. Way to go. So the reason why I said it reminded me of like hermit crab energy in the very beginning is because of what that she's standing on. That I've put in a habitat before. That's why in my head I thought that. But I think scorpion is a really great compromise personally. Okay, so here we go from the top. Excited for it. Looks great. I'm glad that we're connecting some dots in my brain of just tracks that I've heard in passing just in my life, even when I wasn't really in the K-pop scene during this time period. And so it's cool that I'm able to resonate and go, I remember this song, but in a different place. But it's cool to look at the choreo now in this way. So right here in the beginning, you have one of them stoically looking off. I mean, they're all kind of downcast and looking away, but I naturally want to look at my girl in the bucket hat because she is the only one, she's the outlier in the formation. And so that's who I'm naturally going to assume is going to move first in this, potentially. But I love how still they are. That's pretty impressive, not gonna lie. Everybody looks to the front except for Miss Bucket Hat. And she happens to be our first feature. So I really like the the only person that doesn't look happens to be the feature. Normally it's everybody doesn't look except for your feature. So that was a bit on the opposite end of what you normally see. So I think straight out the gate, really fun, different choice. Then I love everybody expands out. That remember you remember. And I like remember what you said. Cool. I did hear somebody said that there were people that were hating on her English pronunciation. I don't really have any qualms with it at this point in time. I haven't heard extensive English from her yet, but so far, I mean, I like her tone and I like how she pronounces stuff. If anything, I'm a fan of how she vibes personally. But I know some people have different opinions about different things, and you're allowed that, just like I'm allowed my opinion. But you know, we come from the perspective of always being open to other people's, you know, mindsets and insights, which I always value for sure. But whenever we're being very critical of an individual, I try my best to not be super critical, because I have to think of how would I want to receive this information, you know, because whenever I make these videos, I try to come at it from the lens of if fans watch it, if people who aren't fans watch this, or if G-Idle themselves watch this. It's how would I want to receive, if somebody's looking at my content, the feedback that they give, how would I want it, you know? So that's why for me, like, could I really, you know, look at this from a super critical lens? Yeah, but I don't want to, nor do I think we need to. I like the vibe of it. I really like how she comes across here. I think her diction is fine. So tell the haters to bench warm for a second. Didn't wait till the next one, because it ain't this one. But I like that everybody creates some tension happening going across the mouth, which is really fun. They rotate to the side, boom, nice little accent on that tambourine sound. It's fun. Then they dip back, and then they come right here to reset. You talk to me as if you were going to give me anything. Ooh, okay. And then, of course, I think she had gloves on, so I think it definitely made sense. It vibed well. This one also they were wearing heels. And what I really like with the choreo, I don't know if I talked about it in the last one, but I'll talk about it here. I really like the fact that the choreo looks good with or without heels. Does that make sense? Like, the heels aren't what makes the choreo. It can hold its own regardless of what you're wearing and shoe. And that, to me, I find to be impressive. I really, really liked it. And they held it down well in heels too. And it's like a little stilettos type of heel, which is nice. They go boom, boom. Remember. So, of course, remembering has to stem from the brain. So anything that they do to the head, when they're touching the head, anything cognitively is discussed. You're going to want to frame or shape it accordingly in the upper body. So, of course, these choices I really like. Remember, boom, and then we're peeling it down from stage right to, well, I thought it was a peel, but it's not. Some of us just had a different start than others, but it could be the hair, because some of them have their hair, I mean, everyone has their hair down except for Miss Bucket Hat. I think that's Soyeon, right? So she, there's that type of extra hairography is just not there as much. But she's in, you know, the center-ish, so it's not really crazy. But they go into an every other. I like the level choice where they go and extend the hand out. Then it does look like they're taking the arm, they're keeping it where it is, and they're allowing the body roll to create and promote the level change, which is fun. And then said, really nice accent on the tail end of that hair. Then I changed as if I took special pills. So pills we eat, like when we take a pill, we take it through the mouth. So it makes sense while we're covering the mouth, which is cool. And I like this part she goes and she kind of puts it away. Really nice choice. And it does match low-key whatever she was doing in that music video. It did give the appearance she was stung by a scorpion. There was a lot of blood and she licked it. Ooh, girl. It's spicy. Now this part right here does give a little salsa vibes. Now please remember, like I said, when it comes to like Latin ballroom, I can't itemize it nearly as effectively as I can with street style, so I know my lane, but I'll say it does give a Latin ballroom posture in this vibe, and I really like it with compliments to the stylized hands and how they're moving them from sides, da-da-da-da-da, and they add it and lag it, and then they make it a nice fuller accented movement to help complement our feature. Because they're all at the same level, you don't have a level difference like you would normally see in this type of choreo. But of course, our feature, her arms were nice and tall. Really nice to see this. Is this true? You won't regret this. So of course, my singer, she is keeping it more subdued, more modified. Everybody else goes a little bit more full, allows the chest to get more involved, and letting the arms trace more fully, which I like. And of course, we also have somebody that's a little hidden behind. For me, I always really would if I were in that position where I was looking at an even group, I would try to avoid having somebody covered up longer than an 8 count, because I understand everybody has a bias, right? Like whoever I would put back there is a bias to someone. So I want to be respectful of screen time for that individual, because I may not be able to control how many lines they get, may not be able to control other circumstances or features, but I can control them being seen in a formation. So that's just my personal empathetic conviction. So that's probably what I naturally look for when I look at an even number. Or if I see somebody concealed, I would want to at least try to see them after an 8 count. But I digress. Little sweeps. It does feel that we did with this first sweep. The first was subtle, and it actually rotated all the way around, and then the second one went full, but I would say we dipped a little bit deeper into that first standing leg. Oh, no, second standing leg, first sweep. And we let that leg fully extend a little bit more, but notice we didn't finish the rotation. We go around to the side and then we bring it right back in. Then we accent with the chest. La, 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 lonely life. Boom. And then it goes jawa, jawa. Just like, haha, I like it. I swallowed the water. So here it's kind of like we're tapping, you know, a puddle of water or something along those lines. The nice stylized hands using the wrist to brush it away. It does feel, I mean, could you have gone Vogue with that? Maybe. I wouldn't call it that though. It's the little ball change before they reestablish is something that a lot of times I see in catwalks. So, but it wasn't really that. They just doubled up on the ball change on that. And I like the throw and the brush of the hands, very stylized. Something that I'm noticing very quickly with G-IDLE is their stylized hands and how they use them. Latata, heavy upper body, arm influence. In this case, I would extend the same courtesy in a great complementary way. Every group that I've looked at marathon format always has some niche of movement quality or something fingerprint wise that stands out to them. There's some groups that are known more for their acrobatics or their sliding across the floor, synchronicity, their usage of polyrhythms. Others are their stylized hands, which is what I would see here. I think some groups are known for their formations or their level choices, and a lot of it comes from the team that works with them, but part of it does come from their ability to absorb and persevere through the styles to make it look more implicit as a group. So I like that. I like how they sit in, boom, nice subtlety here, and they end up sitting in it, na, na, na. It feels very fitting to me. That's probably one of the easiest fitted kind of movement qualities because we just because of how she's breathing into it, it does feel more cushiony. And so whenever they're sitting, but it's more of like a cushioned bounce, I'm definitely a fan of the compliments to the texture, to how they're sitting in it. Literally, lonely life, boom. So it's definitely like, oh, woe is me. Goodbye. Chalka. And she says goodbye. But in the similar type of degree of, I like it. Then right here, I like the subtlety as they go and they cross over, creating a fun transition, makes our feature naturally stand out. She's also the only one that is not in all black. Of course, one of our girls is in a, navy pant, but she's in like a pastel mauve with jeans. She does great, but also shout out to all the other members of the fact I didn't notice her until it was her time to be featured. So sometimes whenever you have clothes that are that may contribute to naturally having you be featured a little bit easier, that can work against you in a group context, especially if you're not supposed to be featured at that time. But in this case, it naturally makes her stand out in a fantastic way. I love it with the arms. They drape it across the head. I like that here. It does give the appearance that they're using the hands to make the head move, but it's not even a mannerism or a motion from the hands to make it happen. It's just the presence of them and how they're stylized. A lot of times you would, phantomly assume or educatedly guess that that's what's going to happen in our predictability brains, right? I really like how they expanded it, where they took it facing outside and then they rotated it to march to the back. I really like choice. Nice choice with the shoulders. I love her subtlety here. That brush there with the hip is such a vibe. They slide in that foot, which is really nice. This position right here is really fun to see even without the heels. The heels make it such a mood. It is. I love how they hold it because what comes with it is the arch and the chest, really promoting up to that angle, which is really fun. And of course, we take our arms. You can really tell my arms are so sore, so I can't really hold this very long. My apologies, but that particular position, I really love it. It's a fun silhouette moment for sure. She brushes it away. I see you, who I didn't know. And everybody takes the arms. So notice that everyone's taking, boom, the arms. It's not quite on the same page in terms of how they're building it up until this rotation around. But it's not a big issue. I like the brushing with the shoulder with one of my girls, Miss Navy over here. Tap, tap, dip those legs, dip the knees. And we go up. Bringing it up, turning it through. That slide, I really like that. Feels like a little Ranajam. Very fun. And then we're gonna repeat it. And I like the tension on that tail end of that, really nice on that. And they take the standing leg and they're putting all their weight on it as they slide out of that other leg. So it feels like we have more tension because you have more control on that standing leg because it has all your weight. So you can go as slow or fast as you want. So I really like that choice. And then the hip, notice the fullness of how high it goes as we're building up the wave. You don't want the wave to be too big than the hip, and you don't want the hip bigger than the wave. So I like that choice. Also, they're doing a pretty decent job of connecting between the two hands so we can see the wave all the way through the arms, and we don't have it chopped off, which is good. And then they bleed it over. That was so fun. Probably my favorite move because it's a wave. They bring it across and then they wave it through because they use their fingers. So Miss Center killed that, picking up the foot. And a pose, you know, because how she hits it, it's more da-da-da, da-da-da, more syncopated. We also have it a little bit sharper in sound, so it makes sense how we have everybody, you know, reset. And they do a nice little chest roll to get us to a different formation. Hoo hoo hoo, and they branch it up, hoo hoo hoo, da da da, and they bring it around, boom 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 boom. This is our stylized stylized kind of hands where it is our focal point here, hitting it through. Notice they reset the chest to the front on that sound in the track, which is really fun. Then they bring it out, back in, boom. This does remind me, it's either from what I've seen from Queendom or it was in La Tata, this set. So it could be a fingerprint from our choreographer if it's the same person both times. The picking it up, once again, a little choppy as they step back to match how they're singing it. Dee-dee-dee, so very quick. So very nice and isolated between all of our hands and our upper body into the switches and the hips. Great work. She goes, she twinkles it in, and this part, do you? I love how low she goes. It's definitely, it gives more, I can't quite place it. It feels, it's conversational. Do you remember? But it feels, you know, more intimate, if that makes sense, but not sensual. Intimate, slower. It's a, do you remember? Not 21st Night of September, but do you remember? Like there's a little bit of, do you really? Kind of like that. Take the arms, like they go out and then they rotate it and then they bring it right back in. Super fun. Remember what you said. She had about a similar diction as Soyeon did. Hence why I'm like, I really don't think Soyeon has terrible diction really at all in English. Also, I think how they came across that entire little phrase sounds so different, but I like the placement in which they both said it. Because in the beginning, it definitely has, you know, there's a sharpness to it, just like, you know, scorpion bites, things like that. Hers is a little bit more, you know, it's more not soothing, but it's definitely more entrancing potentially, right? It's just like a different avenue and telling the same story, which I think is cool. This part here, when you also look at the choreo, definitely has more of that tension that's building in the lower half of the body with the hips. They're taking it, creating slower poses in comparison to a lot of the sharpness from the beginning. I like this part. This was gorgeous. That was so freaking nice with the subtlety of the hips. And then they're placing the hands, creating a beautiful frame, mirror with our back and our front groups and our partners. Love the bleed out on that. She resets it. She still captivates because of how she reset with the brush of her hair. Then it's every other. Boom, boom, boom. Really nice. And we dip it even more. Then we all hit, chill, nothing crazy. She's the only one moving, so it makes sense why we're still hanging out. Very like, girl, you going there. You know, it kind of feels like that. Little snap of the head. Everything changed, like the throw of the arms. Pull, pull. Notice once again, we're a little bit sharper. So shout out to the choreographer for probably going off of tone to establish the type of texture we're going for. I really, really like it because it feels well placed. It feels well fitted, not just in the content, but in how it's to be done. You know, content's one thing, execution of content is another, and I think it's very complimentary to them. And it feels like them, you know, and we're only track 2 in of all of their tracks, which I find so fun on top of it all. It's really nice. Once again, like a hungry lion, so definitely has a subtle claw influence there that she had there. Click, 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 really nice where they take the arms and they step back on it nice and quick. With some of our girls, they take it, they're a little bit fuller than some of our others, so of course I'm excited to see more of the fullness where everybody commits to the same degree together, is where it feels, you know, collective, like a collective backing, which you do tend to see on more veteran groups where they kind of just have an idea of how something is to be performed or modified from dance practice to show, which I think is cool. Da da da, so they brush, and then they go place with the hands, really nice, making sure that the hands are properly in line. They don't want to overshoot, they don't want to undershoot either, so that was good. And that was nice with it, da da da, and then they go, really fun. It does feel like they're really just kind of sitting and bouncing. They're not doing a bedrock or anything along those lines, like hip hop, you know, footwork or anything, but I really like the bleed up of the hip out of that. What my mom says is always right. As an adult now, like an adult, that becomes more and more true. It depends on what it is too. If it becomes like, there's certain things that my mom would say that I'm like, wow, it hits different because you have more lived experience. And even if you don't experience like heartbreak in a particular way that maybe your mom does, there's certain things that she says at certain timing as an adult where you're like, you literally are in a place where you take her word for it and you don't even negotiate, or you don't even try to push it. Because you're just like, I trust her because there's that degree of depth to what she's saying. So there is a lot of validity in that. What my mom says is always right. She's not always right, but there's certain things that I would totally listen to her first over me, for sure. But I love that. The bleeding on that, really nice, good conversation element. My love turned into black. It just burned black. And I love that where she pulls it, and it subtly made it look like she was pulling all of the members back together, which I think was cool. They hit through, back and over, really nice. And notice some of them did a little pat on the arms as they go and reset with the head. Super cute. Raised shoe for my memory today. So when you erase, it's more of this kind of swiping motion, or you have something. So it kind of looks like they... our head is the eraser, and we're erasing this board right here, but we're erasing our own head. So that's why that low-key works. It's because it gives that impression. And the bleed throughs, once again, it feels like a really, really slow jazz walk. It gives that vibe, but it's really not. But it's fun. And of course, they have the arms placed, boom, with the head. Look, really nice. It could literally be just how it's placed in the stylus of the hands, like I said before. So it really looks like when I tilt my head that it's influenced off of what my hands do. So fascinating. This would be one of the first times where I do see that the formation's subtly off. You could tell these two overshot it over to this direction, and they're a little bit more to the inside. Or they, it's the same formation, but one's a little bit out. You see me in turn as if you didn't know me. But then they fixed it, which I think, hey, more power to you. Once again, subtlety there, boom, boom, with the accent in the back. But notice that it feels like they're closer to the camera this time. So there's probably a high potential of a formation change. So you could tell with one of them, we're going, like, could they have pulled it to, like, I call it a love rod if you saw her Red Bull dancer style? Bruh, she freaking, like... so captivating. Like, it is wild what that woman can do. But anyway, what Soyeon's doing, how she's setting it up is similar to she could hyperextend it back to make it a little Vogue pose. But I don't quite know if that's what we're going for. I think we're going more stoic, allowing the chest to kind of be the focal point in promoting the angle. Well, not really the focal point, that's the arms are, but that chest allows us to kind of tilt it up and set, which is really fun. Take it through. I like the brush away, and everybody brushed away to their new spot. New person comes in. Nice choice here. Hers feels a little bit more breathier, like we're making biscuits in the air, not quite waving. So I'm not really gonna give her that. And we dig it through. Boom, nice dip into the hips, and of course the little flick. I like her subtlety there, which is good. I like that she's vibing through, and as she traces that arm down, they all shoot out. That was a fun moment too. That she takes it and it feels like she's enchanting us once again. La, and then right there, she brushes, they all turn. Whenever they're all clean when they turn, it does allow those subtle mannerisms that our features do look like they're controlling the rest of the members. Even if that was intentional or not, that was freaking sick. Love it. So it does feel like we're like whispering here, or whistling, you know, it's what is it, like a, there's honestly funny, like this right here, whistle. So, but we have it more stylized. Honestly, it feels like we're brushing off a milk mustache is what I think of when I see this. But I do feel like, I wonder if we're trying to go for this vibe right here. That part, I don't know. But then I like the reset once again. A lot of energy coming from Soyeon for that. Bringing it through, boom, and then of course we have more tension, and so she picks it up halfway through once again. Same stuff as before, and I like the rotation, and then we drop it down, we bring it through. Accent, of course, I really like the intention of the hands. We have some really good angles in play. Some of them are a little overshot, but I like her angle here. It's this one, I think, is a little too far back, but I like the intention of the fingers. We don't have like a ton of hyperextension in play. We have solid lines, so I feel like that's more forgiving when you're not quite 100% on that 90. If you're hanging out at like a 75, I feel like if everyone's on the same page, it's not as big of a deal as it could be for sure. With a little shimmy there to reset out. Then we dip. Notice with my feature, she dips her arms a little bit lower, but everybody else kind of fixed points it and allows the hip. It's not even a critique. It's just how she does it and how her counterparts do it looks different, and that's why. It's because she doesn't have her arms at a fixed point. Yeah, so as they reset, some of them kind of chill it out a little bit more, and then she really lets it go. But some of them also have it as a straight line. Hers is really, really bent to the corners, so there's that too. The throw and the throw. This part right here, we pull. Definitely feels like we're doing a little body roll with the chug out of it. Take it around, nice to the inside. Of course, you have your feature. I think we've seen her already kind of in the circle, right? Or is that somebody different? My apologies, but I like that part. Boom, they throw it to the back. They all look to the back. And then we switch it out. Really like that choice. Hair flip, nice, to reset. Then we throw those arms up. She's the only one that's not doing the arms all the way up. She is also the only person that is facing full profile to us, so it's easier to naturally want to look at her. But I like the hips there, so we bring the arm up and through. It definitely provides a subtle polyrhythm of allowing that hip to have a nice choice on those bases or on that more percussive sound. And then you have all of this to match the vibe and essence of her tone, which I really like. Cool. Dun, dun, dun. Nice in the tension there. There's sweep once again, a little Rana jump. Let the chest. Notice that the chest does influence how something comes across. There's a pull that's happening with the head. Ta-da. This part right here. So I do remember this specific part when I would do Pump It Up because there would be no steps. So we would just watch the screen. And now I'm in the position where I can actually tell her how some of her choices, it feels, what's the best way to put it? It feels like we are using our back, but we're shoving our energy and like closing our shoulder blades together, but not using our lats. It kind of feels like that, if that kind of makes sense. So it's like we're halfway there, but not 100%. Because also you could tell in some of her choices and her resets, there's not enough follow through happening between the choices. So she goes out and then she rotates it around. Personally, this is just a personal note. She don't have to do this, and this was years ago, so why should she, right? But having it and allowing the chest to help with some of these choices would really help complement what they've already set up throughout the rest of the choreo. So that's my one note for this section. I've had a couple years of actually seeing this one part under my belt, so I'm very familiar with it, to where I feel pretty strong about that choice. The little hair right there was fun, boom, over through, and then we bleed the energy up, which is nice. Then they go through, boom, and then of course we're adding this little extra toe tap action in this. I think just in that one part though, so let's look. Yeah, so they tap it and they let the hip kind of wind up, and they take those arms, rotate them around. So notice there's a huge degree of fullness that's going on in our range and in our kinesphere exploration, meaning that our space out here. They're using a lot more of their leg. They're allowing it to go out. They're taking those arms and making it nice and full. I really appreciate that because it allows us to feel like we're building to a good place. I've talked about this in a couple other tracks. I'll talk about it here because I'm just thinking of it. The power of threes in Western culture music. Western music does influence K-pop. That's something that the inception of K-pop, if you look, it's the hip-hop scene, and Western pop has influenced the K-pop sound. And so yes, it's its own derivative of genre, but I digress. My point being that there is influence between the two. So some of the things that we subconsciously practice in Western culture may be applied here, where the power of threes. So if you see something repeated the exact same way 3 times, we can start to become redundant or boring. So in this case here, notice a lot of times in choreography, you don't see the same course 3 times. And when you do, you subtly feel like, okay, I can be done. I want you to really look at that for yourself and see if you feel that way about some choreos, because I know I do, but not everybody operates with that type of rules. That's just kind of a generalized thing. You don't have to operate that way. If you're like, I want to do the same thing every single time, more power to you. If you can justify it, even better. But in the case here, that's sometimes a lot of, I'm noticing that a lot more, the power of threes, is that you don't want to, you don't want to take advantage too far. You don't want to go too far in that sense. So in this case here, notice that the first 2 courses were very similar. Even in formation structure here, it's very different. This is our 3rd course we're hearing. So I personally really like it because it allows something different, and it allows, if there is a potential build in the track, the choreography that's in the first 2 courses goes on the timbre, tonal color, pitch, and sound envelope, like all of those things that's complementary there. But if you want to have a climactic ending, it needs to have something that promotes a climactic ending. So in this case here, a bigger motions, bigger movement, bigger sequence chains is going to allow for a bigger impact. And so how you align it is what's going to determine if it's complementary to the other things you've already done, which in this case, it's very much the case, which I like. Love the sweep there with the little bleed of the fingers, those little details. They don't do this right here into the wave. They do something a little bit different, but they still use these fingers to help showcase familiarity from what we've already seen. Yep, and they're presenting front instead of to the side, so I really like that choice as well. And the switch, da 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 da, go away, don't even look back. Boom, da da da, fun. Subtlety on that, boom, da do, boom, da do, and that was a fun add-on right there. Then they take it on the 4th, 1, 2, 3, and because we had an add-on, it didn't get boring. If they all did the same thing all 4 times, we would be like, whoa, we could totally do something there. But here, it was an add-on, so there was something reintroduced to redigest what was going on in the track in that moment. That hoo hoo hoo, nice fingerprint, tailors and ties into the first 2 courses very well. Nice extra version of force, da-da-da, nice, and they throw to finish. I like the charisma, of course, of how they finish. Everybody showcases their own vibe, but it's done in a very tasteful way to where the integrity of the choreo feels collective, but when they have their own moments, they have their own moments. So this is one of the few groups that just, and in the very beginning of my head that I'm seeing, I've never really noticed this in a beginning of a marathon, but I really see it here, and it makes me very excited. Most of the girls, there's multiple people, not just 1 or 2 people. Most of the group has some sense of charisma or presence that takes ownership of their section so well that they could just stand there and I would still watch them, you know, but they're not out of pocket to where I would look at them when I'm not supposed to either. So that is such great cohesion on this group's part already so early, and it just makes me more excited to see what else they bring. So I'm a fan. This is nice. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch. If you want to see more G-Idle, I probably have it. I got a lot of it on YouTube. I got a lot more on Patreon. G-Idle is actually one of the more scarcer groups that I do have on YouTube, so maybe not as much. Maybe I did just tell an untruth. I'm sorry, but I digress. My point being, I'm marathoning them right now, which means I will eventually have a lot of G-Idle content, but it will not be on YouTube in a quick manner whatsoever. On Patreon it will though. So all that to say, if you like this group and you want to see more of my perspective on them, I got it on Patreon. Once again, my name is Jess and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.